Alright, let's fix the camera angle. Alright, so we got pitching coach Deskaheh Bomberry from Sacramento City College. Awesome program. I went there and it's awesome. So I get to pick his brain about pitching, athletics, sports, weightlifting. So I have an athlete. He's like 6'5". He's a high school guy. I think he's going to be a junior this year. And this is his first year doing strength and conditioning, doing weights to get stronger. So with a body like that, everyone's going to say, well, he should be throwing hard, or, well, he should be doing this. But one thing he should be doing is lifting weights, and he knows the importance of rest. So I go, are you doing an arm throwing program, or are you doing long toss? So now I'm taking the summer off, and I'm not going to throw until the fall. So now I'm coming to the Bomber to ask him, like, what kind of throwing should he start with if he's not doing anything, because you don't want to necessarily completely shut it down. Or is there's a program, Bomber, we talked about it earlier. There's a step-by-step process on how to take care of the body and get it ready for throwing if you're a pitcher.
There's definitely a time for rest, and taking 3 weeks off, 4 weeks off, no throwing whatsoever is usually a pretty good place to start. But at that point, you're going to have to start throwing again. A month off should be enough. Now, when you start, it should be at a pretty low intensity, not throwing off the mound, not throwing with a whole lot of effort, and really you're just trying to build up some volume. That's the old saying that we've all heard for years. You have to kind of get in shape before you can really get in shape.
Yeah.
And so that's what he needs to do with his arm. He needs to get physically stronger.
I have a quick question. Okay, so after the season, should they just take a complete break from baseball and weights and just everything to give them everything away, or should they do light weights?
No, I would recommend, and I'm sure people would argue this point, but I would recommend a month of basically nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
Just sit around, relax, enjoy yourself, be a 16-year-old kid, just let the body recover.
Stay off that Fortnite though.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the next video.
Yeah, avoid Fortnite at all costs. But part of getting yourself back in shape to pitch or to throw is also some active recovery. Obviously, there's a point to rest, or you just kind of shut down and do nothing. But active recovery is exactly what it sounds like. You are making a conscious effort to improve the health of your arm.
Yeah.
And athletes in every sport do it. Baseball players are no different. Pitchers are no different. Active recovery is a big part of getting yourself back to where you need to be to perform at the highest level.
All right. So now specific kind of programming, because I asked some questions. I go, he has a pitcher in here, Polo's in here. He started throwing at 90 feet. So give us kind of a breakdown of a general program, which you would start maybe high school guy or someone that's took a month off. Now they're starting to lift weights a little bit, and now they want to get on the field and start to get in shape.
Yeah, I think. I mean, you almost want to start with like a rehab throwing program. It's gonna be a lot of throws at a short distance, very low effort. We're talking maybe for a high school kid, 75 feet, maybe 90 feet, and not much beyond that. And the idea is to not really feel a whole lot of soreness when you're done. It's just to kind of retrain yourself to throw, let the body remember what it feels like, and slowly build up some strength, some endurance. And then once you feel like you've gotten to the point where you're in pretty good shape, you can start working yourself back and slowly start increasing the intensity of the throwing and cut down on the volume a little bit. It's you can't max out every day, and throwing is no different.
How many days a week, like for the 90? So if they're doing 75 to 90 feet, how many days a week?
I think that's something you probably do 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
Again, it just depends on what you're coming back from, how much you threw the previous year, how much time you took off. There's a lot of factors, and everyone's different.
Yep.
Some guys recover very quickly, other guys take longer to recover. I think one of the mistakes as coaches we make is when we develop a throwing program, we come up with one and we expect all the pitchers to do it exactly the same.
Super awesome. It's like, this is awesome, man.
It might work for some guys, it might not work for other guys.
Yeah, but that's the same for the weight room. We have a great program, and it's like, this is not going to work.
You have to be careful with how you, enforce the throwing program, because everyone's going to be a little bit different. You might push certain guys too fast, you might hold certain guys back. And so part of development is just the education of each guy of what they need specifically to maximize their ability.
So then after 90 feet, so you mentioned about 2 weeks of that, and then can you break down kind of a general, like, for the next 3 months?
Yeah, I would think that breaking it up into 2-week blocks is a very basic, straightforward way to go, and it's easy to follow. So the first couple of weeks, up to 90 feet, one of the things you can try to monitor is the intensity of that 90 feet. Not every 90-foot throw is the same. There's a 90-foot throw that's got a big hump in it, and you're not really throwing it very hard, and there's 90 feet that's on the line. And I think one of the things that as the pitcher you can try to monitor yourself is just the intensity of your 90 feet as you progress through the first couple weeks of throwing. Then maybe the next couple weeks is at 120, and then you're back to 150, and just slowly work yourself back until you're getting closer to the distance you were when your season ended, as you get closer to your season starting up again.
What about the weighted balls? When should they implement? I see a lot of weighted balls being utilized this last few years. So how should, if you're starting a 90 feet program, you're coming off a month break, when should you start throwing weighted balls?
I think you could start the weighted balls fairly early if you use them appropriately. Weighted balls are an amazing tool, but they're not without risk, and you have to understand that risk when you start them. And so when you start a weighted ball throwing program, it should be very, very basic, very, very straightforward, very low intensity, and really you're just using it more for some strengthening, using it more of a warm-up, and you're also going to use it at the end of throwing as a recovery protocol. And then again, like anything else, you sort of ramp up with some of the weighted ball stuff, and eventually you can transition after maybe 6 weeks or so. You can transition into more of a high-intensity throwing program with the weighted balls. I think with younger athletes, 16 or younger, we should start with balls that aren't a whole lot heavier than a baseball. And then when you get to like a high school senior, college freshman, then you can start to implement the heavier stuff at a fairly high intensity. But again, you have to be really careful with how you use these things, because there is risk, but there is reward, and you just need to be careful and understand what you're doing. And again, like anything else, you have to do what fits you. There's programs all over the place. You can buy them, you can find them online. It may not be what works for you, or maybe you take that program and
their body's not ready for those weights.
You might not be physically strong enough. If you have any sort of injury history, that's another factor to take into consideration. So, as great as weighted ball throwing programs are, I think you have to be careful with how you use them.
So I could send Vinny to you. You show him how to use weighted balls.
Sure.
I'll show you. Yeah. All right.
For sure.
So basically, just like anything else, you got to make sure that the technique and they're using it properly, because, like, just weighted balls, I feel like it can go wrong really quick, because they're just trying to throw a ball, or you don't have an understanding of.
So I just think of weighted balls as lifting weights. You would never take a beginner into the weight room, put 500 pounds in the bar, and have them squat, and that's not going to end very well for anybody. And weighted balls are the same way. You have to learn how to move. You have to learn the movement patterns with the weighted balls before you can start bringing up the intensity. So if you think of it in those terms, then you have a better understanding of how they should be used. And like weights, you can't throw the weighted balls at 100% every time you use them. Again, it goes back to the whole maxing out concept. Most people don't max out in the gym every day. And if you do, you're probably in super, super good shape, really, really strong already. Or if you're not, you're probably going to get hurt. So think of it in those terms. Weighted ball throwing is a lot like lifting weights.
All right. So what have you? Well, I guess as you say now, every pitcher is different. So certain things will work for some pitchers.
Absolutely.
Some things won't work for others. But out of all, like, how many years have you been coaching?
22 at the college level.
So 22. What do you find like a common denominator in terms of like long toss, weighted balls? Like what have you seen that helps add velocity?
Getting strong,
Okay.
There's a few factors when you see guys who make big velocity jumps. Number one, how mature are they physically when they start really training? If you have an 18-year-old who's never shaved before, there's a decent chance he's going to add some serious velocity because he's just going to mature physically. If you have an 18-year-old who's been shaving since 7th or 8th grade, there's not a whole lot of room for growth there, possibly. I think guys who gain velocity are guys who like to throw. They're able to throw a lot. That's really, the more you're able to throw, the more likely you are to gain velocity.
So more long toss, more.
Yeah, so the long toss to me is
but
kind
your
of
body's ready for it, and your mind's ready to,
Right.
to push it. They know they're not going to overthrow. It's just a part of the
right.
routine.
A really, really simple way to gain a little bit of velocity is trying to throw harder. Most guys are taught, hey, just make sure you get over the plate, make sure you have good command, which is fine. But when you start really, really cutting it loose with some intent, your velocity will go up just kind of naturally.
So it's like putting yourself in a game situation where you're going to give your best effort.
Yeah, I mean, if you spend all your time sprinting, you'll learn how to run faster. If you spend a lot of time trying to throw hard, you'll learn how to throw harder. And again, there's obviously going to be a limit to that.
Yeah.
But most guys spend very little time actually trying to throw the ball hard. So you're almost.
I think you get a lot out of it. You're learning how to move your body. You
become an athlete when you just try to throw the ball hard.
Okay, so this year, like, what guys, like, do you see the guys that are like, oh, this guy's trying to go hard, or you know what I mean? Like, when do you see it, like they're kind of doing it on their own, like, where it's like, okay, this guy.
Guys who are really committed to velocity, you see that the intensity of the weighted ball throwing program is usually pretty high. They're usually crushing it in the weight room. I mean, not all guys who throw hard look like they're strong, but they are. Guys who are able to throw hard, they're strong. May not be strong in the traditional sense of being able to bench press a bunch of weight or squat a bunch of weight, but they're strong.
Yeah.
So if you want to gain velocity, if you want to gain power, you have to get strong. There's no other way around it.
So what about rotating you rotate long toss days with like short toss, or how does that?
To me,
I'm getting complex now.
To me, long toss to me is something you can do just about every day.
Okay. And what is that?
At some capacity.
Where is that in the, like, would that help out velocity? Would that, what is it that?
I don't know if there's a huge connection between long toss and velocity. I can't say that there isn't a connection, because again, if you're really letting it fly and trying to throw it as far as you can, the intent is going to be there. But you also keep in mind you're throwing the ball way up in the air as well. So what we try to do when we follow up our long toss with a pull down, and a pull down is basically you're taking your 300-foot throw, for example, and you're trying to cram it into shorter and shorter throws.
Yeah.
So maybe you're only throwing it 65 feet now, but you're throwing it with a 300-foot effort.
Yeah.
And that's where the intent comes into play. And that's where you see guys really start cutting it loose. You'll see guys, and we've had guys doing a pull down. Again, this wouldn't happen off the mound through a windup, but had guys pull down anywhere from 97 to 100 miles an hour. Just a big crow hop and just cut it loose. Again, it's not something you can do every day.
Yeah.
I try to explain to guys, when you really, really feel good physically, the arm feels great, you have to take advantage of those days.
Just like lifting.
And when it doesn't feel great, you have to listen to it and not try to push it.
So listen
faster.
to your body.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially your arm. It's very,
Very
delicate.
Whatever kid, people that want to lift, and it's like, well, you got to just do what your body. If you can push it, push a little bit. If you need to watch out, feel like 100%, and just back off a little bit. And
some days you just got to get through it. And other days you feel great, and then it's time to get after it.
Because even on the non-good days, you're still going to get something out of it.
Always. Always.
What about control?
I think, command is one of those things that it's as much about your brain as anything else. Your brain will cause mechanical issues. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a difference in your body and how it moves between a ball and a strike, but the difference is so minor, and it's not anything anyone can ever see. There's a biomechanical principle that basically it says your body will organize itself in the manner or in an effort to achieve whatever goal you have. So if your goal is to hit a target, if you can just eliminate all other distractions, your body will try to figure out a way to hit the target. I think that's a big part of it, is just being committed to one very specific thing. I'm going to get the ball to this spot, and that's all that matters. So I think that's a big part. Again, we can't try to dissect the mechanics every single pitch. It doesn't work. That happens a lot. You hear it from the stands and from the dugout. Hey, do this, do that. All these other coaching cues that really, when it comes down to movement patterns, verbal cueing is probably not the best way to go about it.
All right, Bomber. Anything else?
That's whatever you need, man.
All right. All right. Thank you, Bomber.
All right.